All right, it's a beautiful edition of Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television and Network. My name is Ekpo Temple, and Emmanuel Michael is in the studio to do justice to all the conversations. Yes, in the next couple of minutes, we'll just take a look at the exploit of the Super Eagles of Nigeria yesterday against Tanzania, and there are questions to be answered, from that game and what next as they continue to prepare for the African Cup of Nations. Can they win this year's title? I mean, a lot of questions Nigerians have been asking, but from that display yesterday, you can begin to put your bets if they can, or if they will find it very difficult, or what they can do to better, their chances of getting, to pick this particular one. Also, we'll look at what played out in the EFA yesterday, as Arsenal struggled via a penalty shootout to win against the Crystal Palace. Mike, always a joyful moment to have you in the studio. We've talked about the makeup of the Super Eagles yesterday. A lot of us have been reacting, but let's start with the goalkeeping. Let's start with the fullback. We saw Saido Sanusi and Bright Osaye Samuel, struggled. They struggled so hard to influence that game. 2-1, no doubt, but the defense struggled, and the fullback we selected them specifically because they tried to be very cautious going forward. How worrying is the lack of attacking output from the fullback? To enhance the forward and also to cause some damage, to the opposite team?
I think for me, first of all, the defense line, the back two and the three, I think these are the two Achilles heel in that team, because if you're a defender, you're finding it very difficult to advance forward, then also finding it difficult to mark your man. It becomes very difficult for other members of your team, because your own efforts, don't forget, do well to also complement the other players in different positions as well. If your wing is that frail and unstable, then it piles up even more workloads to the next man that is behind you, either as a forward or as a midfielder, because you are not containing the force of the opponent team. It means that more effort will be doubled. That will make the midfielder or the striker to drop down deep to come help you, because you saw, especially for Zaidu Sanusi yesterday, he showed a whole lot of lapses, which for me this is not the Zaidu Sanusi that we watch at Porto, because in Porto he's always very dogged. I don't know whether it is the low level of confidence for the national team that caused it yesterday, because at some point I was like, no, this is not Saidu Sanusi. In fact, if we had another reliable three, I mean, that is where the coach would have brought on that player. Seeing the lapses of Saidu Sanusi yesterday, he barely made any accurate tackles yesterday. It was, in fact, the worst of it all is that the goal that our opponent scored, talking about Tanzania, is from that same wing as well, because he stood flat-foot before that striker just sneaked in behind his back to, of course, tap in that goal, which for me, I think it's a very big problem. Bright Osaye Samuel was a little bit even better compared to Zaidu Sanusi. He was the key Achilles heel in that game yesterday. The defense line, if your defense line is not that good, it becomes a problem for the midfielders, because you need to be reliable, you need to be solid, defensively solid, and that solidity goes a whole long way to impact more confidence and belief on the midfielders, that they can be able to say, okay, I can now adventure forward a little bit, even if you are a defensive midfielder. Like Wilfred Ndidi was sitting in front of the 5 and 6. But if your defense line, the 2 and 3, are very effective, that will allow Wilfred Ndidi to even advance a little bit, more like a up midfield role, and not to drop down deep to the extent of coming to help at all time the defenders. So for me, it's a big issue, and I think Eric Chell should have been able to spot out some of those lapses and work on it, and get ready for our next game, because if you struggle that way against a team that is lowly ranked as Tanzania, ranked 106 or 8 in the world, and you struggle against them, what happens if you come against big teams like Algeria, even Morocco, the host country, Tunisia, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, that has much better players, fast and quick-thinking players all right, that can just maneuver their way and wriggle their way through and bypass you. So I think Eric Chell truly need to work on that defense line.
Let's take a look at one of our biggest strengths, before now, and how we've been able to deploy that yesterday. Rapid counter-attacking football from the Super Eagles. You think you saw that one in display yesterday?
I didn't really see that in display yesterday. I think in Tanzania they even showed more rapid attacking, intent in terms of counter-attacking compared to the Super Eagles. The Super Eagles, no doubt, at some point we moved the ball faster, especially when Simon came in. We saw that, quick foot and rapid counter-attacking from the left wing. But it was not complemented from the right wing as well, because counter-attacking need to be holistic for it to have a real bite. All right. So I think quick, rapid counter-attacking is not the basic style of Nigerian football. It is not typical with us because we don't play defensive game. It is the team that play low block, game that rely heavily on rapid counter-attack.
We even saw that more from the Tanzanians at some point.
That is what I said. That the Tanzania, you watch out, whenever the ball gets to them, they tend to, advance faster and quicker with the ball than when the ball comes to the Super Eagles. And I think it is not, alien to us. Why? Because we are not used to that kind of, ball. Yeah. Like I said, a team that heavily rely on rapid counter-attacking is a team that plays low block. More like low block defensive kind of game. Teams like Atletico Madrid, they want to sit back, absorb the pressure, and when they get on the ball, you see 2 or 3 men up front moving the ball. They will send the ball quick, and you see them surging forward with that quick attacking consciousness. But a team that plays a total football, hardly before you see them launching those long balls, trying to look for 1 or 2 men up front for them to go on a counter. So it is not typical of a Nigerian pattern of play. So
your take on the transition from the defense to the attack, you think that the formation for the 4-4-2 deployed by Eric Chair did perfectly work yesterday?
The formation wasn't a problem for me.
Okay.
It's about the individuals that played the formation. All right, you can introduce a classic 4-4-2 formation. You can introduce a diamond formation. You can introduce the tiki-taka form. You can introduce the counter pressing. You can even introduce the gang pressing. And if you don't have players that are very peculiar to those kind of formation, then that formation itself will become fruitless. It is a very fine formation, but then the players in quotes that are supposed to be the orchestrators of that formation are not properly fit for such formation. It makes it nothing. I mean, it becomes nothing. But when you have players that truly understand, okay, this is what I need to do at this point in time, and this is where I need to advance the ball forward. This is where I need to slow down the pace of the game. When you have the players and you've been able to train them over time, it is very easy for them. That is why when you see teams that plays a total football, you just think that this team doesn't need a coach. You can go to the house and sleep and they will deliver because you've been with these boys, you've talked to them, you've impacted your idea, you've told them your philosophy. This is where you ought to move the ball. When at this point, this is where you need to calm down the ball, ease the pressure, all right? And that is why it is very easy to watch them play. And you think that they don't even, at some point in time, the La Roja, talking about the Spanish national team, copied exactly what Barcelona were playing.
That's correct.
That is why you think that they don't even need a coach, because the way they play, you just enjoy the game. It flows seamlessly, and you discover then players from Real Madrid and Barcelona
are the bulk
of the teams of the Spanish national team. But note that Barca and Madrid, they don't play the same formation. But then when these players meet together, aggregate at the senior national team, all of them play the same pattern. You ask yourself why, and that is why I say it is about the philosophy, what the coach wants, and the players that fit into that pattern of play. Nigeria, we have the players. individual skills. They are there. But then the coach haven't been with them for that such long a time where you can say, okay, a coach can just sit down.
Because in the last African Cup of Nations, arguably, what Pesero used in getting to the finals was the 4-3-3.
Exactly.
So more like a counter
Yeah.
at some point, and then they tried to sit back, enjoy the pressure. We had a very good, solid defense. Remember, to second and all that. So 4-3-3, maybe a departure from 4-3-3 to 4-4-2 now. The first game, well, yeah, they got a victory, but I'm just thinking how they can manage that with teams like Tunisia, you know, who also plays, you know, similar formations. So I'm just thinking how they can maneuver that, because 4-2-2 is an open formation for attacking, and every good coach can exploit that, you know, who can get you in. And so I'm just thinking, when you don't have a solid defense, like we saw yesterday, especially the fullbacks, how we can cope with this particular one. And that too, yesterday, it affected the Victor Osimhen, who worked tirelessly as expected, but there were visible signs of frustration at some point, you know. So just maybe the coach is trying to bring a new philosophy to the team, but like I said, the players are yet to adapt quickly.
Yeah, the players are yet to adapt quickly. And of course, you know, Jose Pizarro came with a different philosophy of let's sit back, absorb the pressure
and then move.
And move. Any little opportunity, move. And that is what he used to get to the final. But then, like I said earlier, we are not used to that kind of play. Nigeria, there is a reason why we are called the Samba of Africa, the Brazil of Africa, because of the way we hold on to the ball. We love to hold on to the ball, entertain, knock the ball around and advance. All right? We find small pocket of chances to maneuver your opponent and, of course, get the ball into the next man. But since Joseph Pizarro came in, it was a complete departure from there, where we were just playing more like police ball. Get the ball, shoot it up front, allow Victor Osimhen, you know, to hustle for it and bulldoze the defenders. No, football has evolved. It has evolved. Gone past that era where you just try to sit and begin to play those kind of dirty football. I call it dirty football. And that is why I'm not a fan of, you know, Jose Mourinho. He may have won some laurels, yeah, no doubt, but then I'm not his fan because I don't love that pattern of play. Eric Chell, I tell you, if you see the way he plays with his team, you definitely know that there is something special about him. Let's go back to the World Cup qualifier. You saw when he came in, there was a total change of narrative. The way we play, we hold on to the ball, we knock it around, we build from the back, advance to the midfield, and spread the ball across. And people were loving it. In fact, most Nigeria has come to fall in love with Eric Chell pattern of play, because he's taking us back to the traditional era where the Super Eagles were playing more like a unit. All right, so I think it's just a matter of time the Super Eagles with Eric Chell would definitely get there. And you get to enjoy the best of the Super Eagles where they face a team that loves to hold on to the ball well and knock it around. That is where you enjoy the best of football from the Super Eagles. But when you meet a team that doesn't really want to give a damn, what they want to do is to launch a long ball and move and run like a police ball. I don't love those kind of play. So I think despite the scrappy win, there are some positivity that we need to also take from that game. One is that at least, if not for any other thing, the midfield was stable. The attack, we have a very good attack as we speak right now. And the bench is also somewhat good, except from, you know, the defensive angle of it, where you say, okay, what if injury set into the likes of Kelvin Bassey or probably Semilogo Ajayi, who comes in to take that position? Now that Benjamin Frederick is not there, now that William Strauss Ekong is not there, that is just my only worry. But aside that, I think Eric Chell is building something massive for the future.
Building something massive for the future. Let's talk about other games that we have seen so far today. Okay, but before then, there were some games that we saw yesterday. So can we go to the games where we saw some beautiful, you know, display? Yes, Nigeria played the 2-1 win against Tanzania. Tunisia, you know, we are very good yesterday against Uganda, 3-1. And then we also saw DR Congo defeated the Benin Republic, you know, 1-0. Senegal thrashed Botswana at 3-0. And today we've seen some lovely results also in Group E. We saw Burkina Faso defeated Equatorial Guinea, you know, 2-1 with the man down. And Algeria is still leading in this particular one with them and the Sudan. And Group F later this evening, we'll see Ivory Coast to take on Mozambique, and then in the last game of the day, Cameroon will battle Gabon. We talk about some of these encounters we have seen so far, and everybody seems to be picking win. But like you said, the first game we saw against Equatorial Guinea and Burkina Faso, it was a very cagey encounter.
Very cagey encounter. You need to give credence to, of course, Equatorial Guinea. They were one man down in the 50th minute, but then they held on until 85th minute and even scored first. In the 85th minute, I thought it was going to be a massive celebration for them. But then complacency set in, especially at the dying moment of the game. In the 90 plus extra time, all right, the Burkina Babes struck, to make it 1-1. And before you could say jacked, in 90 plus, was it 8 or 7 minutes? Of course, Tapsoda scored the glorious winning goal for them. But then, don't take anything away from the Equatorial Guinea side, who held on. They were very dogged, very resilient, created 1 or 2 chances. But then, no thanks to that one man that received red card. If they were maybe 11-11, who knows? It might have ended in a draw. Probably Equatorial Guinea shocking Burkina Faso.
And then let's move away now from the African Cup of Nations and let's move straight now to Europe. Arsenal struggled yesterday to pick a 1-0 win against their counterparts from Crystal Palace. It ended in penalty and it could have gone either side.
Definitely for Arsenal, I think they are not paying priority to the FA Cup. I think their major focus is about the English Premier League and the UEFA Champions League. But that is not to say that if they have the chances of, or the chance rather of winning the FA Cup, they won't win it. That is why they won yesterday. Though a KG encounter, it ended 1-1 during normal time before it went down to a penalty shootout. In the game of penalty, it can go either way, and that is what happened. Crystal Palace knocked out. In fact, they are going to face Chelsea right now in the last 4, while Manchester City hosts Newcastle. All
right, and that's how far we can go. But I won't forget to tell you that we'll continue to bring you more of the African Professional tidbits, and I hope that Super Eagles on Saturday will display in fine fashion against the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia. Many thanks, Mike, for being part of the conversation here.
Always a pleasure.
We'll be back again tomorrow, 6 p.m. Enjoy the best from Atlantic Television Network. My name is Ekpo Temple. Bye-bye.